Salutations, fellow nerds. I'm Rick Y, and today is October 3rd, 2025. The government is shut down, and as expected, the Republican controlled House, Senate, and White House are blaming a handful of Democrats because apparently it's easier to point fingers at the minority than accept responsibility when you're the majority. So, why are we here? How did we get here? And where the hell is all of this heading? A continuing resolution was put forward because no compromise was being had. And this isn't new. It's been the proverbial can kicked down the road for years now, stalling any real budget talks. In theory, every year Congress is supposed to pass a budget, the big plan that sets how much goes into defense, schools, healthcare, and everything else. Think of it like your family's yearly plan, how much for groceries, bills, maybe even a vacation if you're lucky. But when Congress can't agree on that plan, they pass a continuing resolution, or a CR. And a CR doesn't make new decisions, it just says keep spending the same as last year so the lights don't go out. But the problem is they've been governing by CR for decades instead of doing their jobs. In fact, the last time Congress passed all 12 appropriation bills on time was back in 1997 under Bill Clinton, who actually balanced the budget, something today's self-proclaimed fiscal conservatives have never once managed to do. Now let's rewind to March of this year. On March 15th, Trump signed the full-year Continuing Appropriations and Extensions Act of 2025 that extended spending at Biden's 2024 levels through the end of September. It passed the House by razor-thin 217 to 213, and the Senate followed with 54 to 46. That move bought them time and avoided a shutdown in the spring, but it did nothing to solve the bigger problem. Everybody knew it was just another kick of the can. And everyone also knew that come October, Republicans would try to spin the blame game. They were warned at the time if they didn't take responsibility then, they'd be stuck with it now. But instead of owning it, they set the stage to accuse Democrats of being obstructionists. That's rich, really, coming from the party whose Senate leader, Mitch McConnell, turned obstruction into an Olympic sport during both Obama and Biden's presidencies. So where does that leave us now? Republicans have built themselves into an impossible scenario. Immovable objects colliding with unstoppable forces. Their attitude is since they hold a majority, Democrats are obligated to do as they say. But that's not true if you ignore the fact that Republicans never gave Democrats that courtesy when the roles were reversed. And here is the core issue. Republicans are demanding a proposal that would weaken medical coverage for millions of people and make healthcare costs skyrocket. Their talking point is that it's about free healthcare for immigrants, but that's nonsense. Public benefits require a social security number. If you don't have one, you don't qualify. Period. Emergency rooms treat people because it's illegal and inhumane to let them die on curbs. But that's not free benefits, that's basic law and decency. So when Republicans frame this as some kind of immigrant issue, they are selling you a lie. Instead of negotiating responsibly, they're trying to hold Democrats hostage. Either Democrats cave and make their constituents' lives worse, or Republicans blame them for a shutdown. That's not how democracy works. If Republicans truly had a mandate, they could pass their agenda without resistance, but they don't have a supermajority. And without that, they can't simply bulldoze legislation through without making deals. That's how this system is supposed to work. Mike Johnson knew he didn't have the votes in the Senate, but he still recessed Congress early. That's not a strategy, that's dereliction of duty. And now Trump is threatening to withhold benefits from Democratic-led states. That's not only illegal, it cuts directly against the impoundment clause of the Constitution. But, hey, the Supreme Court's already given him that cover earlier this year, so why should we expect them to stop him now? This is literally Project 2025 in action, a test run of just how far they can push their agenda by threatening ordinary Americans with punishment if their leaders don't comply. So how is this going to play out? Because both parties are essentially stuck. Republicans either make adjustments to the CR that don't completely screw Americans, or they drag the shutdown out and hope the public just blames someone else. Democrats, meanwhile, can't afford to fold. If they cave after people have already suffered through the shutdown, it'll be another capitulation to the far right. And it will prove that Trump's mafia boss style of politics actually works. If they hold firm, then the blame stays where it belongs, on Republican leadership that can't even rally its own members, let alone govern responsibly. So Republicans and conservatives can scream and squirm and yell until they're blue in the face, but they don't own a monopoly on legislation. They need Democrats, just like Democrats needed them when the roles were reversed. That's how governing works. And if they can't figure that out, it's not obstruction, it's failure. Maybe remember that in 2026. Anyway, if you dig the content, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. The more these videos spread, the more this community grows. And unlike Congress, we actually get things done around here. Y'all come back now. You hear?